But being different actually is to your benefit at times. When you take a risk, that's when you actually get the biggest reward. If you're younger, sit down with some of your closest friends and come up with a strategy in terms of how you want to develop your brand. What do you want to be known for? Nobody ever excels in life by being like everybody else.
So yes, I would like to welcome you to Classic Talk Sessions. Before you go ahead, so there is some introduction that I would like to give about you. There are two kind of people at the age of social media. There are two kind of people who will always complain about not having enough opportunities to market the business, and there is second category who will create the opportunity. They will see the situation and they'll create the opportunities for their own. Today on the Classic Talk Session, we are the best example of a person who has created the opportunity on social media, and that is also no matter which business they are into. So we have a very energetic, very down to earth, despite all the achievements that you have, Dr.Chithra Durgam, all the way from USA. And trust me, that is not all about her. She has even got featured into a book called Crushing It by Gary Vee. And she has even spoken about the personal branding in a lot of meetings and a lot of podcasts. So that's what I know about her. Chitra ma'am, trust me, I'm very happy today because I really could not believe the way we met. We had very a few seconds of interaction over Instagram, and you manage your time from your busy schedules to come here on the this interview session. Thank you so much. So before you go ahead, ma'am, I have one question for you to start with. I would like to know your life story. How you started your career and how you managed to get featured into Crushing It, which is by Gary Vee. So that is something really interesting that has inspired me. So can you please tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. Actually, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I really like the fact that, being Indian myself, that we made this happen, because I just see your background in this Zoom video, and it kind of like makes me nostalgic for my family in India. So I'm glad we were able to make the connection. So my story is interesting. I'm first generation Indian. My parents immigrated from, and I was born here in the United States.
Okay.
And when I, graduated from high school, I was doing a lot of jobs. I worked in a seafood bar. I worked temp jobs. I did so many different types of jobs. And got a lot of experience. And my parents actually really pushed me to do well academically and also practically. They wanted me to be street smart. They wanted me to know how to negotiate, how to get a job, how to talk with people who are different than me. And so that gave me a great platform when I went off to school, because not only was I working on my academics, but I was also, working as I was in school during the entire time. And so it helped a lot to help me towards developing my practice eventually in New Jersey. And from there, I decided that I wanted to delve a lot into personal branding, because I thought that was going to help me with my dental office, and it really did. I ended up doing a lot of work on TikTok when it was Musical.ly. So I made a lot of videos at that time, probably to the chagrin of a lot of people, because it's very embarrassing at times when you're one of the first people and you're the professional on a platform like that, and you're doing dances like this. It's different. And so, but being different actually is to your benefit at times. When you take a risk, that's when you actually get the biggest reward, especially with branding. And so by doing that, I ended up getting featured in Gary's book, Crushing It, because I was able to have my business and also use social media to not only brand, but also convert to get actual patients from it. And so, and then from there, I've been doing a lot of speaking. I do a lot of keynote speaking, and I continue to develop my brand. And now I'm doing work in voice skills on Amazon Alexa and Google Home.
That's amazing. So ma'am, the second question, follow-up question after that is that when you are making videos, okay, usually the social media, which is like Musical.ly, TikTok, is usually for teenagers, okay. you begin to your field, how did you got that idea? Like, did you not feel like, as you said, you were not comfortable, or maybe you felt a little bit embarrassed to make the video and to actually post it? Uh, that was, of course, it was a great move from your end. But, how did you make that decision? How did you push yourself, so that others will know how exactly you reach till that point? Till that point. So
Right.
how did you make that first, how did you overcome all those challenges and you actually posted that video and it started working for you?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question, Ganesh. When you look at anything you do in life and you're kind of fearful about it, you have to think about what's the worst that could happen, right? The worst that could happen is other dentists say that, oh my gosh, she's unprofessional. So do I care what other dentists who are my competitors are going to say about how I'm marketing my office?
Right,
Perhaps they don't want me to stand out.
right,
Maybe their motives would be not in my best interest. So why am
right,
I taking that into consideration?
right,
The other thing is maybe patients think I'm not serious.
right,
So worst case scenario, I then only attract my tribe, right? I
right,
attract the people who want to be my patients because they like my personality. And
right,
so the minute somebody comes into my office as a client, whether it's dentistry, any other business, by
right,
putting your own personality out there, you're attracting people who like who you are. And it's not that difficult then when you try to talk to them about your products, when you try to talk to them about your service, because you're trying to do the best for them. They trust you because they already believe in what you're doing and who you are. And
right,
so the synergy of all of that makes things go really well in the relationship. And so I've just give, a lot of advice to people when they ask a question like this is that you have to see, first of all, what are the benefits? And if those benefits are going to outweigh the disadvantage, it's worth the risk. And worst case scenario, you start over. And if you're willing to take the risk, like I said before, like you can get some of the biggest rewards. And so nobody ever excels in life by being like everybody else. So if you're fearful because you're not like your friends, if you're fearful because you're not doing the work that your parents want to do, then you're never going to get to the level of success that someone like Gary Vaynerchuk has attained
yeah,
because he's willing to take those risks.
true, true, true. Uh, so of course, like when you also, when the actual clients, when they see you, especially kids, so they build kind of a trust when they see you again and again and again. So there is a kind of a connection when you actually see you, doing those kind of things, which usually that will connect with kids. So that is something, great. So anything about I came to know that you also talk about personal branding. Can you please put some little bit light on personal branding part, like especially on social media, because you are quite active, you are quite creative. I saw all your posts. Actually, I went through entire Instagram feed as well, and I checked how exactly you put a content. That was all the content that you put on the on Instagram. I could see that it is to the point. It is very convenient. It is very easy to understand. It was entertaining. I was literally scrolling through your Instagram. I could I was enjoying that. So anything about personal branding that you like to mention, especially for the younger generation, about the personal branding, how you can use a social media for your personal branding purpose.
Right. So I think young people really need to honestly be careful about personal branding, first of all, before they start. They need to think about their strategy. I
Right,
think a lot of people are trying to just do anything to get attention and likes.
right,
And they're not thinking about the long term of their career and that maybe an employer is going to see some of the things they posted 20 years ago.
right,
And it's not going to be in their favor if they haven't been thoughtful when they were younger. So I would say if you're younger, sit down with some of your closest friends and come up with a strategy in terms of how you want to develop your brand. What do you want to be known for? What is the line that you're willing to cross and what is it you wouldn't do? For instance, would you say curse words? Is that part of who you want to be known for in your brand? If you're okay with that, fine. If you're not, for instance, myself, I'm not okay with that, right? So I would never
right,
use that in my any of my posts because I know children are watching it and I'm concerned about that. I'm also careful about trying to be positive as much as possible.
right,
So there's things you have to think of from a strategy standpoint. I also think secondly, you have to think about being on all the platforms as much as you can, but pick a few that you can probably make a huge impact. Because
right,
when you make an impact, you stand out, people know you for that, and you'll get much more attention. If you're mediocre at everything, it's very difficult to get any traction that way.
okay,
And with that, I think you have to also look for platforms that don't have a lot of attention, right? So right now, a lot of people are on TikTok. That's great. People are getting millions and millions of likes. That's
Right.
great.
Right.
But is that the best place for you? Maybe not. Maybe you're a writer.
Right.
Maybe you're someone that, does better networking. Right now, in my opinion, I actually think Pinterest is
Okay.
really good.
Okay.
A lot of people have underestimated Pinterest. I actually think it's really good.
True.
LinkedIn, obviously. And I actually think voice skills, which most people are not talking about right now, but making your own personal brand on a voice skill, which is what I do with my company, Local Vocal. If you can make your own personal brand and be one of the first people on Alexa, then you will, really, it's almost like you're one of the first people on the internet with a website. You're going
Exactly.
to really get a lot of traction. You're really going to take your brand to the next level. And you just have to be able to take that risk. And I think lastly, a lot of people should think about what is their goal with personal branding. If you want to be an influencer and you want to make, let's say, some money with your posts, you
Right.
have to understand that you maybe end up looking like a sellout with the people that your fans are, because they're going to see, oh, here she is again trying to tell us to buy her tennis shoe, or here
Right.
she is again trying to sell this. And
Yeah.
so they kind of tune you out, right? So
Exactly.
you have to be careful. You have to think about, is that your overall goal? Maybe you're not doing well financially, so do that. There's nothing wrong with it, but you have to think about, well, you're going to lose something in doing that. And so all this time I've really been careful about being thoughtful. Now I'm doing more businesses, and with quarantine and all this stuff with COVID-19, I'm thinking about what is it that people need, and I'm talking to them about it. And that's how I've been using my brand.
True. So basically, so whatever is the next, like there was a TikTok, so there is Instagram Reels. That is the new thing that has come up. So basically, what you are saying is you supposed to be very much up to date with the what is the new technology and use it for your personal branding. So you should also be aware of what is the new thing, what is the latest thing that is happening, and use it for your personal branding. That's what you're saying. Um,
Yes.
when you also said like you try to be positive into your work, you always try to be positive. So how do you manage that? I'm sure you must have got some kind of negative comments as well, because I read that if I'm not wrong. So you got negative comments. uh, did those comments made you like feel like demotivated, and you felt like like I should stop it now because no one is liking, or I'm getting some kind of criticism, I'm getting negative comments? So how do you handle that? Can you please tell us, how did you manage that?
Right. So when I'll be honest, the negative comments usually I feel like are unfounded. I feel like a lot of the negative comments, honestly, are from people who don't know me really well, or they're anonymous a
Right.
lot of times.
Right.
But the thing is, like, I don't really care so much good or bad,
Okay.
right? So, it's not to be, sense, I don't want people to feel like I put so much emphasis on whether they like me or not. So if you give me a compliment, I have to give that the same weight as the negative comment, right?
Right.
So if that's the case, I'm not going to put any credence on either one, really. And so for me, as I've gotten older, and this happens with everybody, as you get older, you care less
Yeah.
about what other people think.
Right.
But your question though is really good for young people though, right? So sometimes when you're young, you are trying to make a place, whether it's in business or on social media. You're trying to make a name for yourself.
Yeah.
You're trying to maybe have a relationship with someone, and
Right.
those small things that people say can really affect you more. And I think in those times you have to make sure you have a really good inner circle.
Right.
So whether it's your mom, whether it's your best friend, someone you can talk to, tell them anything you want, and know you, and know that those are the people who you're going to go to when you have a bad day. Those are the people you're going to ask, do you really think that I'm not really good at what I'm doing? Because this person is saying this. You need someone to sometimes help you get back to reality of how much of an amazing person you are, because we all are amazing. We all have certain gifts. And I think it's important to focus on what those gifts are instead of focusing on what is negative about what we are, because we can really believe the negative sometimes more than the positive.
Right.
That's really a problem a lot of us have, having this idea of trying to be the best, it's hard to live up to. So having that inner circle, I honestly believe it will make all the difference. Even if it's one person, I found for myself, it helps so much.
Oh, amazing. Uh, I also read about a little bit about like what you say that this especially this younger generation, social media is making people very famous in a very short period of time. But it comes like the reality is also that to actually achieve a permanent success into what you're doing. You mentioned that people need to put a lot of time. They want results very quick. At this point of time, kids also they have a lot of pressure from their parents. If in case the parents find out that their kid is there on the social media most of the time, they don't want, especially Indian parents, they don't want their kids to spend so much of time on social media. But that is something that you say that you need to put a lot of effort. There should be consistency. But the current generation, they want everything to be very quick. And can you give us some advice, like how to be consistent? Like even if you're facing some challenge, how you can convince your parents, or convince your loved ones. How you convince to that they need some time. So everyone wants quick results these days.
Okay, so that seems like two questions to me. So first of all, the idea about, quick results. What I would suggest is people use like one of those platforms that lets you plan out your post in advance. So if they don't have the time to put, everything out every day, on Sunday, you can plan out 5 or 6 posts for the week on these
Right.
scheduling types of platforms, and then put it out and then not think too much about it. Until like I say, half an hour a day just to reply to comments. There's a way to do it so that you can get what you want and also be able to get that consistency. And that's really in planning out like on a calendar so that you know like what you're doing on a regular basis. And if you don't have the ability to do that, the other thing is to hire someone to help you.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can get like even like your little brother, your little sister, if you know somebody in your family that's willing to do that, there's no shame in that. You should find people who can help you to continue, posting. This idea about having quick results, we need to stop thinking that way. I have the benefit of being a little bit older where I had to work a lot and I never had these kind of platforms available to me when I was young. I can only imagine what damage would have happened if that were the case. But I think that we have to really look at, how we're spending our time, because here's the thing in life, nothing comes quick. We have to keep reminding ourselves that.
Right.
And if we want to attain something that's so worthwhile, that's the crown jewel, we have to think to ourselves that it's going to take 5 to 10 years to get to that point. And if we
5 days.
keep reminding ourselves of that,
Yeah.
it will be good. Now, how do we keep moving along the path to the journey of that when our ultimate goal is that thing? It's making sure along the way that it's fun. If social media is a job to you to get to that next thing, you're not going to last long.
Yeah.
You got to find a platform that you like, that you enjoy, that gives you, that feeling of well-being. And if you find that, then the whole process of doing it is not a big deal. And you don't mind, going through all of that. And I think to address the other point you made about parents, I think as a generation, being from Indian culture, we really need to think about talking to our parents, sitting them down and letting them know that in order for us to be happy, we have to follow our own path. And I understand, mom and dad, you didn't have social media when you were younger. You think that it may be a bad influence on me. You want me to be a doctor or an engineer. I understand you want me to do that. But I want to be a musician. And this is the reason why. And I want you to give me 15 years to try to pursue my goal. And if for some reason I'm not able to do that, then I will look for a regular job so that, I can bring income to the family. Whatever it is, I think we all need to take the opportunity to sit our parents down. We're afraid to do that. We respect our parents so much. We don't want to ask them if we can do something else. But the most important thing is developing that foundation of doing what you want, because then when you end up, let's say, getting married, then you find the person that you want and you continue along this path of happiness. you do what other people want, even once, whether it's your career or marry someone you don't want to, or have a relationship with someone you don't want to, it's going to fracture that foundation, and you're not going to be able to be ultimately as happy as you could have been. And I think this is something our culture really doesn't discuss enough, is that we need to have these conversations, particularly when the whole family comes together, like all the cousins and everything. Let's have a big discussion about this. Like, you know, what are other people thinking? Because in numbers, you know, it makes a big difference. If all the cousins start talking and all the cousins start saying, hey, this is interesting to me, and hey, I don't want to be this, and I want to try to pursue journalism. If we have these bigger conversations, it will change the tide of how we think as a culture. But we really need to change that, because as much as it seems from the outside, Indian households are really happy, we all know internally there's some fracturing. We just don't talk about it, because
Right.
as Indians, we try to not expose any family problems publicly. You know, unlike Americans, unlike us, you know, Indian culture, we tend to keep things to ourselves. And
Exactly.
so it's important to change that. We need to start seeing how is it that we can fulfill our own goals and our parents will be happy. And I think also mentioning to our parents, if we're happy, they're going to be happy too, because you're not going to keep going back to them asking them for money. You're not going to keep going back to them and saying, you need to help me with this. And you're going to be able to take care of them when they get older, right? Because you'll be happy. You'll want to spend time with them. You'll be able to take care of them financially. And
Right.
so it really is like, you know, we really need to rethink the way that we do things, I feel like, in our culture.
Right. Right. So that is a huge difference into Indian and American culture. So both have their own pros and cons. So like you mentioned about this entire situation, did you go through that time where you had to convince someone, or your family or someone was not supporting you? Did you have to face anything like that? If yes, how did you manage that part? Will you be able to share that? If you had
So
faced.
I would say, like, right. I think when I was younger, like when I was in school, I was more of a people pleaser. And so my advice comes from someone who did it the wrong way when she was like in elementary school, when she was in junior high, high school. I was always trying to get straight A's. I was trying to be the person that everybody said, wow, Chitra's amazing. She's doing this. You don't necessarily need to be that person. You know, you have to be the person that is fulfilling your dream. And so looking back and seeing that, I'm able to give the advice that it's important not to be that person who's trying to please everybody else but themselves.
Right. Right. uh, I'm sure that you're handling your social media, you're handling your business, you're handling your family. uh, how do you get time to be creative at your work? Because like some, like if your people are into business or they're working, they are just working, but at that point of time you have to be creative and put that content out. uh, how do you manage that time? Like, how do you schedule your times? What's your schedule for the entire day? How you manage your time?
Right. That's a really good question, actually. I think because you're looking at sometimes serious profession and you're trying to be creative and humorous, and sometimes you wouldn't think those go together.
Right.
Um, I think, you know, you have to be careful. For instance, in my profession, I can't do a TikTok with the patient in the room, right? I have to be mindful and thoughtful about what I'm doing. And so, you know, those type of activities would happen late at night or on the weekend, and they don't have any bearing on my patient care. And I make sure people understand that, because I don't think I would want to go to a dentist that in between patients is doing TikToks, you know?
Right.
So we have to be careful about the image that we're giving, that we're not like doing any work, that we're just doing TikToks all day. But I think, you know, again, this goes back to attracting your tribe. You know, people know who you are, they come to your office. But I think being creative, I think, comes with understanding the platforms. I don't think, for instance, TikTok is for everyone, right? Not everybody wants to do TikTok. And that's okay. Maybe you're not that creative. Maybe it's more about finding the platform that's for you. Writing, maybe writing is better. Maybe doing audio. Maybe you don't like being on video, so
Right.
you want to do only audio and podcasting. I
Right.
mean, there, you have to find the platform for you. But in terms of the exact question you're asking in terms of creativity, for me, it actually comes naturally. Like I just come up with ideas based on things that I'm reading. Honestly, I'll be talking to someone and all of a sudden I came up with ideas, my voice skill and for other items that I was doing. And I start making a notebook of
Okay.
all the ideas that I had so that I can continue to use it. And
Okay.
so that has really helped me quite a bit, because if I don't get it down, I'll keep thinking about it for some time.
Okay. Ma'am, how was your experience? Like, what you felt like when you got featured into, Gary Vee? I have one question actually. How, how did you landed? Like, how come you got featured into, crushing it? Like, is there any story behind that? Like, how you felt when you got featured into crushing it? So, is there any story behind that? If you could tell us a little bit about that.
And there's not really a story. I wish there was a really good story I could tell you. I mean, I ended up meeting him after they chose to put me in the book.
Okay.
And I can tell you he's like the real deal in person. I've never met anybody who ultimately wants more success for others. I don't think people really understand how much he wants everyone to succeed. For instance, how much work I've already done in branding. If I showed up to one of his events, he would probably ask me, what are you doing here? You know what I mean? Based on the fact that I've already put in the time, I've already understood the concept, he's probably going to ask, like, why are you here? You know what I mean? Like, that's how much he cares about people kind of just going out on their own and doing what makes them happy. And I was really excited to be, part of everything that he's doing. I think he's an amazing person. And the fact that, he chose to put me in his book was an honor, because, to this day, I get lots of people contacting me about it.
Right.
But I think, in terms of how I got into the book, you'd probably have to ask him. I'm not exactly sure on all of that, but I will say he did have a podcast episode where he was
Right.
asking for submissions
Right.
for the book, and I did enter into that.
Okay. Okay, so that was very short and it was very good. Ma'am, wanted to check like how was your like what is your what you call as a success? I mean, into your entire career journey. What was that moment when you felt like I've been there or I've achieved this? So what was the happiest moment into your career in your entire career journey? So what was that happiest moment for you?
Yeah, I think I'll be honest. I was asked to speak at do the keynote speech at Harvard Medical School.
Okay.
This was supposed to be this August,
Okay.
um, for the Voice of Healthcare Summit, where we were talking about how to use voice skills in the office and within healthcare. When I found out, I'll be honest with you, that was a real highlight for me, because it just was the culmination of a lot of work of wanting to really um, be a part of the voice community. And I've always had the aspiration to speak at Harvard.
Okay.
So I don't know why it is. It's probably a very superficial reason, but I always wanted to have the opportunity to do that. And so it was kind of one of those moments where you kind of feel like everything came together. But unfortunately, with COVID-19, we were virtual,
Oh.
so it didn't come to fruition. But we did do it virtually, and so I'm just going to hold on that maybe I'll have an opportunity again, because I think it's just someone trying to test me to remind me that I'll never have made it, that I
Right.
have to keep working, that we never just make it, or it's never that moment where you're like, okay, I can like relax now. I mean, not that nobody should be worried, but I think that our careers is a process, right? It's
Right.
never like, okay, I made my dream, because if that's the case, then our dream wasn't big enough. So
Right. Right. So, ma'am, that was a lot of information that you gave. Few questions I'll ask before we, close this session. Uh, how are you planning to grow your, your career? Are you still want to grow into, like how you are planning to manage your business or your social media content, and how far you want to grow into a career in coming years? Anything that you want to share?
could you repeat that?
Okay. Okay. Am I audible now?
Yes.
I don't know what happened. Okay. So, want to check, like, what is your, how you're planning to, what is your, ultimate goal that you have into your life? How far you want to grow? Or are you really happy doing what you're doing right now? Or what's your plan actually? How you want to grow your business and where do you want to, how much bigger you want to make it? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so right now we're creating a voice skill for the for dental exams. So
What?
for the
Okay.
DAT and for the
Okay.
IMBDE. So for foreign trained Indian dentists who are coming to the United States, this could be helpful to them because they have to take the IMBDE exam
Right.
to start dental school in the United States. And I've
Okay.
gotten a lot of actual requests from Indian dentists about how to take the exam. So we have a podcast out for that now,
All
and we're
right.
going to ultimately make a voice skill. So that's one direction that I'm going with my career. Another direction is I started asklocalvocal.com,
Okay.
which is, we create voice skills for anyone in the world for their business or personal brand so that more people can learn about you and what you're doing. So you could have a voice skill about your personal brand that's almost like having a website on the internet. So
Okay.
a voice skill on Alexa would allow people to have a menu to
Okay.
learn more about what you're doing. So they would navigate it through audio.
Okay.
And then also you have, this is an Echo Show device. So you can
Okay.
even have photos or
All right.
video,
Okay.
and people can see everything and hear everything just by using audio.
Wow.
And you can advertise on that. You can put information about your brand or your business on that.
Okay.
That's going to be the future for the next 10 years. You
Wow.
heard it here first. People are going to be, everyone's going to be using this more.
Okay.
Amitabh Bachchan in India now is going to be the voice of Alexa now,
Right.
coming year. So you're going to see more people navigating towards this. And that's really where the future is in terms of where my career is going to be headed. And I've done a lot of speaking this past year. I'm going to be
Right.
speaking at the Voice Summit on October 5th for those that are interested. And it's virtual. And I think more of that is going to be interesting because I feel like in India, Alexa is going to be a big deal because
Right.
anybody can have access to the internet if they have this device and just plug it in.
Wow. Okay.
And so you could learn a lot about other people, other businesses, music.
Right.
Everything is going to be in one device. So it's almost like having Twitter,
Wow.
Snapchat, Musically, everything in one device.
Right.
And so the difference is that with voice skills, though, you're actually paying for your own voice skill, right? To set it up, just like you would pay for a website.
Right.
And by doing that, you own the content, which is great because, now when we post on Instagram, who knows, they could decide they want to stop Instagram. We
Right.
lose all our content, all our followers.
Right.
Um, Making sure that you're using platforms where you're actually engaged with your audience, but you can keep track of your audience, you can keep track of your own content, in my opinion, is going to be huge in the future.
Oh, that's awesome. That's really great. Okay, Chitra ma'am, last question. How you plan your day? Like you have, like you said, like you have a lot of busy schedules. How you still, how you manage your day? Like, what's your day schedule? What is the entire day schedule? How you plan your day to be more, productive, not wasting time because you have to create the content. You have to, you have your business also to handle. So how do you manage your day? How you, manage your timing basically?
Yeah, that's a good question. I have a assistant that helps me.
Okay.
So she basically goes through my emails, and she will, respond on my behalf on some of them. I have actually now also additional help in the office to do like different things to set things up. So ordinarily, I mean, you and I had decided yesterday to do this, but ordinarily I would probably have someone else set this up for me, and then I would be able to come on and then hop off and do whatever else I need to do. So it really, it depends on the day, but I don't tend to do very many meetings.
Okay.
I find that I get extremely frustrated when I'm in a long meeting because I feel like I've wasted time. I like something like this because we're providing value to other people. I'm getting to connect with someone from India and who's really entrepreneurial, trying to do new things. So I love that. But there are some things where I feel like there are logistics that people ask meetings for that don't need to have meetings.
Okay.
So I will try to give people a start time and an end time if they want to meet with me, so they understand that my time is valuable and that we need to really get to the crux of the issue and not spend too
Right.
much time
Right.
talking.
Right.
During the week, I don't do a lot of events or speaking or anything. So Monday to Friday, I focus mostly on clinical.
Okay.
I record my podcast on Saturday. I work on Saturday. I do interviews or, some other things on Sunday evening,
Okay.
but I block schedule my time.
Okay.
So I don't open up my schedule for the whole week for everything,
All right.
because here's the thing, at the end of the day, if I'm not coming to you with something valuable, like for
Right.
instance, for this interview, if I'm not coming with high energy, that's a disservice to you. And so it's up to me to find, how do I manage my time
Yeah.
so that everything that I'm doing, I'm giving 100%. So I want to make sure that after this, you tell other people like, wow, she really came. She was willing to spend the time with me. She tried to give as much value as possible.
Yeah.
And, whatever it may be, I want people to come away with that. And
Right.
so if I'm talking to you, let's say after a full day of seeing patients, you're going to get a different version of me, right? So I have to be careful so that I'm giving everybody the best.
Yeah.
And I hope that the way I'm scheduling, people understand that. Now, sometimes you have to constantly communicate that to people. Like, the
Right.
reason I'm scheduling you at this time, the reason I only have 5 minutes, because I want to make sure that I give you the best in a
Yes.
short amount of time,
Yes.
and that, we don't delay this. And
Right.
so by conveying that, you end up getting, better communication, people are happier. And
Right.
at the end, I think everybody's, benefits.
Right. Right. Okay, ma'am. Actually, Chithra ma'am, I have a lot of questions. There are a lot of information that you gave. Uh, so thank you. I would like to thank you very much, for taking the time out. I understand you have a lot of busy schedules. From that time also, your reward was very prompt. Like I knew that no, I had to get into my shoes now. I had to make it a very good interview. Thank you very much for your timing, for coming here. Anything that you'd like to share before we stop this session? Any message that you have?
So one thing that I would think about, I don't know if there's something available in India. I think texting platforms are really interesting right now. So I have a text number if people want to text me
Okay.
to ask me questions. I think if something like that's available in India, I think would be great, because they're having really good success
Okay.
getting people to open those kind of platforms. I
Okay.
also think if people want to learn more about voice, they should
Okay.
reach out to me on Instagram. I'm also on YouTube.
Okay.
I have my YouTube channel. I love to talk with people about their questions about voice,
Okay.
because we are going to be doing a call-in show pretty soon.
Okay.
And so people can actually either write in their questions or call in
Okay.
questions about voice, entrepreneurship,
Okay.
small business.
Okay.
And I'm going to be answering them online. And I think just having a resource, is available is helpful. And I'm on all the platforms as Dr. Durgam, Drdurgam.
All right. So I'll put all those links also, whatever information that you gave. I'll be putting everything into a description as much as possible so that you will be easily reachable through this video. So yes, Dr. Chithra Durgam, thank you very much for being a part of Classic Talk,
Sure.
Leo. It was really great, having this conversation with you. And thank you very much one more time for your valuable time.
Yeah, thank you so much. And thank you for taking the time to do the homework ahead of time, going through everything and coming up with really good questions, because some of these questions were, you could really, were home run type of questions. So
Right.
impressive on your part.
Thank you very much. Yes, I did homework. I wanted to be like, it shouldn't happen that, if I'm talking to you, I should know a lot of things about you. Like, so I was going through Instagram. I was reading that book one more time. I was checking you on
That's
different
great.
platforms. So I should
You'd
know.
be surprised. Most people don't. So you'd be surprised. So that's great. That shows a lot about your character.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Take care and stay in touch.
Sure, sure. I'll keep in touch with you.